This video is sponsored by Black Mountain Picks. Alright, you're going to see me sweat in this video. Here's where I got learning a super tough Chet Atkins lick. But here's where it all started for me. Now, this lick is from Mr. Guitar, Chet Atkins, in a Jerry Reed version of Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. There's a live version of this on YouTube. I'll link to it so you can check it out. It's mind-blowing. This lick is fantastic, but the entire thing is just awesome, and you should check it out. It's amazing. It's Chet doing what Chet does like no one else. It's so effortless. His playing is so fluid, and the first time I heard this particular lick in that tune, I knew I had to tackle it. So in this video, we're going to break down this tough lick, but more importantly, I'm going to share my process for working through a difficult piece of music on the guitar. Hey, John here with your Tuesday Blues, where each week we come together to talk blues, learn about the guitar, and sometimes we dive into tips that help you practice more effectively, and that's what we're going to get into today. If that sounds like something that you're into, hit subscribe and click that bell icon so you're notified each week when the videos go live. But now let's get to work on this absolutely insane lick, but more importantly, let's look at the approach on how to tackle something very difficult on the guitar. My first step is to simply get the notes right under my fingers on the fretboard, and that might require learning a new chord shape, or like we're going to do here with our example lick, we're going to map out a few arpeggios. In this phase, I really don't pay too much attention to timing. We got plenty of time for that later, as you're going to see, but right now I just want to know where my fingers need to be on the fretboard. If you're working from tab, it's helpful to figure out which finger should play each note. That's not always clear just by looking at that grid of numbers and strings, right? In this case, though, we're going to cheat a little bit because the video is out there for us to watch on YouTube. And bonus tip here, you can hit that little gear icon and choose a playback speed that's slower than 1. So I used 0.5 a lot when I was trying to see what Chet did here, especially when it comes to his picking, and we'll talk about that too. But the shape that we're going to work from is right here. I've got my ring finger on the 11th fret of the 3rd string, 2nd string, 10th fret with the middle finger, and index finger, 9th fret, 1st string. That's the main shape. You're going to live there for this first part, all right? But let's dig into the first pattern of notes. Let's start getting the picking involved and making sure that we know where our fingers need to fall on the fretboard throughout this lick. So with this shape fretted, I'm going to reach up with my little finger to the 12th fret, 1st string, and I'm going to pluck with my middle finger. And then I'm going to pull off back down to that 9th fret. So this is kind of the home base shape for this first part, but we're going to do that pull off. Then the 2nd string, right in place, right under that little chord shape that we've got, I'm going to pluck with the index finger, 3rd string with the pick, back to the 2nd string, pick that with the index finger, and then on top, the 1st string, just at the 9th fret, no pull off here, and I'm plucking with my middle finger. So the first part of the pattern is this. Now notice that when I played each note, I played them staccato. I kind of choked them out just by lifting my finger up off of the fretboard. Right? It's not this. We want that nice broken up sound. That's what we're looking for this arpeggio, which, if you're interested, is an A6 arpeggio. So now that we know the pattern, the sequence of notes, we're going to play it 5 times, right? And this is my mark. This is what I'm listening for. That stands out, that pull off. So when I hear that 5 times, I'm wrapping up and I'm moving on to the next arpeggio. Before we do that, I got to point something out, because looping this over on itself creates a bit of a picking problem if you stick strictly with what I just told you as far as how to pick. Now that is what I think I see Chet doing on the YouTube video. Again, you can slow it down to halftime to really get in there. But what happens is when you loop it, you end by picking on the middle finger with the middle finger. But then if you stick to the picking pattern that I just told you, you would start again on that same string with that same finger picking. And that can be quite difficult, if not impossible, once you get this thing up to full Chet tempo here. So what we're going to do is what I saw Chet do here. So on the repeats, to do that pull off, come down with the thumb pick. Everything else stays the same, but we kind of help ourselves there by, we start like this, but notice how on the repeat I went up to the first string and did that pull off starting with the thumb pick. There we go. We can do better than that. All right. And I would encourage you to spend a little bit of time just practicing that over. Just loop it. I know I said 5 times, but I spend a lot of time at a very slow tempo, not even really thinking about timing. Like I said, just kind of going back through that pattern and looping it on itself to just make sure that I had that pattern, had the muscle memory down to tackle this thing. It's going to come in handy when you start ratcheting up the tempo. So once we have this arpeggio down, we play it 5 times, we're going to move into an E major 7. Same picking pattern here, right down to the thumb, taking care of the pull off. And then the chord is a little bit different. Obviously, this is an E major 7, so we're going to start here. That's the major 7 of E. Right here on the D sharp, we're going to pull off down to the B, and then we need these 2 notes, 2nd string, 9th fret, and then the 3rd string, 9th fret. That's a wide stretch for that pull off. There's no doubt about it, but it pays to be spread out here as much as possible to get that down. And again, loop that, even though it only occurs once in the lick, to make sure you like the fingering. Right there, I didn't like that. I got a little cramped when I tried to play that with my little finger on the 2nd string. So what I'm going to do is play it like that. I'm a little more comfortable with my ring finger taking care of that 2nd string note and then coming over and playing that 3rd string here. I no longer need that big stretch, and anytime you don't need that big stretch, don't do it. We don't need to waste that energy, right? All right, so we only do that once, okay? But again, loop it as you're practicing it just to make sure that you've got the muscle memory, you've got the pattern down. But in the lick, it's 5 on this, and then just 1 on this. Then we move to another tough stretch. I'm sorry, he does it. But what we're going to do is pull off from the 9th all the way down to the 5th. And then kind of a difficult stretch here in between these 2 fingers as we wrap up that pull off from 9 down to 5. We go to the 2nd string, picking still the same. This is the F sharp, and then we go to the 8th fret on the 3rd string, and then back. All right, and then we've got one more pull off with a slightly less uncomfortable stretch. We're going to pull off from 7 down to 4, go to the E on the 2nd string, and we're going to kind of break our little pattern here. And then just come up. The lick keeps going. There's some beautiful music that happens, but we're going to end it right there. All right, so let's take a look at the whole thing, just played slowly so we know the notes and where they need to be. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, another one, and then last one. All right, and again, not super particular about timing at this point. Just make sure you know the pattern, particularly this one, because it happens so much, and then move it on down through the chord changes till we can flesh out this full phrase. Before we move on, big thanks to Black Mountain Picks for sponsoring this lesson. You know, your basic thumb pick was just never right for me out of the box. And I tried all the different sizes. They were terribly uncomfortable. So I would heat them up in hot water and try to mold them to my thumb. It was just a pain in the neck to get a pick that would work for me. If that's you, give Black Mountain Picks a shot. Its spring-loaded design really is super comfortable and it helps to accommodate your thumb shape. And if you've never thumb picked before, then this is a great pick to get started with it because of that familiar flat pick shape. You can easily get into it by just strumming and going with what you're used to. You can check out more, maybe pick one up at the link in the description. Once you have the notes under your fingers, we've got to get the timing down. A great way to do that is to count where the notes fall. Count out loud as you're playing. And for our example, the arpeggios that kick us off, they're in a triplet rhythm. So we're going to count a lot of this lick as 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. What we're going to do now is apply the count, the rhythmic count, as I play through at a slow tempo here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4, and 1. Just ending with that. We could keep going. There are some super sweet notes that happen after that, but obviously the hero here is this fancy picking. Next, we need to identify what makes this lick tough for you, and we need to drill it. We're going headlong into the hard part, and this is work, no doubt about it. But the more you focus on the tough bits and effectively drill them, the more progress you're going to see. In this Chet lick, the tough part for me was the speed. I mean, this thing clocks in at around 210 BPM, and that's not a speed that I'm terribly comfortable just whipping out some triplets, you know? This thing is tough for me, and that is specifically what made it tough. Maybe for you, it's a multitude of things, but maybe it's those long stretches. If so, drill those. And I've got a lesson, by the way, walking you through a strategy to nail tough stretches. But if there are multiple things that make this tough for you, then I suggest tackling them head on, one by one, and save tempo, save speed for the final focus. It really helps to work out other things before you apply speed. Speaking of speed, that was my tough part. That was my roadblock. So here's my strategy for getting this thing up to speed. Now this may sound a little unexpected coming from me because I'm always saying practice slowly, and you should still do that, and I do too, as you're gonna see in this video. But what I did, and what I do oftentimes, is my first attempt to play something fast, I'll try to play it at performance tempo. Something fast like Cannonball Rag or this lick, I try it first at full speed. Here's why. I need to feel the struggle. I need to feel just how fast I need to be. And in cases like this, I kind of need to be humbled a bit. I need to know this is going to take work. I need to know where my failures are. So after I tried this with this lick, complete failed attempt, I dropped the metronome way, way down, in this case, 100 BPM, which is less than half of my goal tempo. So for me, your tempo may be different, but for me, that tempo was pretty comfortable. So I started increasing the metronome by 10 to 20 BPM each time until I was not comfortable anymore. up to 160, I felt pretty comfortable, but at 180, I started to slip a little bit, and I knew that was well below my goal tempo of 210. But I kept going. I actually pushed beyond that point where it got a little shaky and moved up to 200 BPM. And I worked there for about 30 minutes or so and really felt what it was like to struggle just beyond my ability. And then I took a break and I came back after, a good long break, and I bumped it back down to 180 where I'd previously noticed the beginnings of struggle, and I was able to play it. It's not magic. It's pushing yourself beyond what you're really capable of doing. It's struggling. And then all of a sudden, that level of where you first encounter struggle just starts to rise. And ultimately, I'm hoping that happens as I get to 210 beats per minute. So those clips you saw, those were yesterday. And what I'm going to do now is try to get to 210 from that slight struggle 180 to that really struggling 200. I'm going to try to do it right now as I'm filming. I won't do any cuts here, although we may speed this up depending on how long I take. Here we go. I'm starting at 180 and I'm trying to nail this thing at 210. I lost count. Almost. All right, I'm gonna wrap up. I didn't make it. I didn't think I would. So, clearly 190 is a struggle. 180 was certainly not as good as yesterday. And I think, that underscores the fact that this takes time. I'm going to push on to 200 just like I did yesterday, even though 190, kind of splitting the difference there, was certainly hard. You could tell I wasn't getting it, but I want to feel what it feels like to go beyond, well beyond my current comfort zone. I want to struggle a bit. That's what I'm going to do right now for a little bit, as long as you can bear it. Here we go, 200. You know what's funny? I'm noticing it like, stop. That pattern, fine at 200. It's the connecting points. So I'm further kind of recognizing where my problem areas are. It's in switching and keeping all that going. So what I probably should do is spare you the chase to 210 here. Drop back down again to like 100 or 120. For me, very comfortable, and focus on the transition. Those movements down the neck, that's where my problem areas are. It's making the changes at this speed. All right, so let's just chalk this up to a work in progress. I didn't fully make it to 210, and I'm totally okay with that. I know that even 180 was a little rough. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to refine that. There's joy in that for me, because I know that 2 days ago, 180 was kind of out of the question. I wasn't going to get there, so I'm already seeing some progress. And if you work through a strategy like this, again, bringing that struggle zone up and up and up over time with practice, that's going to help you make more progress in less time. I hope this helps you. I mean, maybe seeing my process of tackling this super cool Chet lick is something new to you. And if it is, I'm telling you, this sort of approach of targeting the weak area and drilling it until it's no longer weak has done wonders for my playing. It's the thing that helps me get better in less time. It helps me make the most out of my practice time. And just like anybody else, we're all busy, right? We've all got things things competing for our attention. So when we're practicing, let's split the time. Let's have fun when we need to have fun, but when you want to learn something, when you want to grow, when you want to get better, use strategies like this to help you get there. And don't forget to stop by the link in the description to check out our sponsor, Black Mountain Picks. They're phenomenal. I love them. And I hope to see you in another video. If you want to keep learning, just click or tap right over there, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Until then, practice smart and play on.